Hello, you two. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hello.
Hi.
Why don't we do some very quick intros, even though you've both been on before? We'll start with you, Youngie.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Youngie. Sometimes you can see me credited as Chang. I do voices, scripts, and songs. Stuff like Record of Ragnarok on Netflix or Akudama Drive on Funimation. I also write Dank Jams with people like Interlunium and Lily Pichu, who's a friend of the pod.
Awesome. And Souha.
I'm Souha AL-SAMKARI. You can find me on Twitter at SusuRocket or a few different places, I guess, with studios. But I am a game dev and a lawyer, and I write, I direct, and I do voice acting direction for games as well.
And now, I don't know if I've ever brought this up with you guys, but it's relevant here. There have been times where I've known a person for a very long time, and I never knew how to pronounce their last name. And this was definitely one of AL-SAMKARI.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was AL-SAMKARI for some reason.
Oh, well, here's the thing. It's in Arabic, it's AL-SAMKARI. So,
Okay.
I hear both of them and have zero issue because it's just in English.
But
so.
I definitely still want to know how you say it. So AL-SAMKARI, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are people I've known for I'll know them for 5 years, and then it's like, oh, that's how you say your last name, because the thing is, last names very rarely come up in social. It's not like, hey, I'm Sungwon Cho, and nice to meet you. I'm Sungwon Cho. No, just say I'm Sungwon, right? So
Yeah.
But yeah, now that I know your last name, we can move on. So before we dive into anything else, we asked Twitter for some suggestions for topics, and Youngie, you said you had one at least?
Yeah. There was one from our friend Rick who told us, who asked us to describe the perfect beef, each of us, and to be detailed.
Okay. Suha, you want to go first?
Oh gosh, sure. Okay. Obviously, and I've talked about this actually multiple times now at PAX for talks. So this is part of my personal professional brand at this point. But obviously large, and you would think duh, but I mean gigantic, terrifying, like 6'5" plus, I have a character in my unannounced project I'm making that's 7'5". I'm just going.
You're just going for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but because when you're the boss, nobody can tell you no, which is good and bad.
Ass out. Just ass out.
Very, very large, but then also preferably rich and stable. There's a job where you can kind of see yourself fitting into that life. Bonus points if they cook and clean or will pay somebody to do that for you. And then they could be grumpy a la Endeavor, or they could be, very sweet like Dedu, but they have to be nice to you. That's the requirements.
Now, I don't think Dedu is particularly rich.
He's not, but like I said on my episode with Max, he could easily ask Dimitri for a lordship or something, or a dukedom. I don't know what the.
So it's gotta be beef with connections.
Yes. Or beef with potential, because what good is beef, when you're, living in a cardboard box together?
I appreciate your very pragmatic, realistic approach to beef. It's they got to be hot and big, but they got to be able to support me.
If you want the fantasy to be complete, you have to be able to picture it all. If you want your fantasy to really have legs.
And apparently your fantasy involves paying your taxes and mortgage. I'm very
practical.
Usually I think in most fantasies it's no, everything else is good. I just fuck them, right? But no, it's no, but can he afford what tax bracket are we?
Can he send our children to an Ivy League school?
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I'm just saying, if you want to be with someone for one night, that's great. But if you marry them, or have a long-term committed relationship, whatever, they're there all the time. And, you get those kids, those child support checks start coming in. If you're not together, you're set.
That's fair. Youngie, you're up.
Well, see, I thought the question was referring to like food. I would never
That's what
be
I thought
sexist
too,
and objectify men like that.
I should have known that's why you got excited. I was like, I'm so glad Sungwon is like really interested in talking about this.
No, but I think we're gonna have to do this first, and then we'll go back to the actual topic. So, Youngie, describe your sex beef first.
Okay. I was gonna say some of the descriptors might apply to both types. Well, I do.
Medium rare.
Well, I was gonna say melt in your mouth, but my acumen for beef. Well, I feel like first and foremost it has to be two-dimensional, because I feel like beef in real life is never as good as you want it to be. It only works in fantasy.
Too chewy.
Yeah.
Leathery? Yeah.
Too chewy. No, I will say the one thing that comes to mind is mussels. Nice to look at, but I think in practice, not really the best. I used to work in logistics and inventory for a big technology company for 6 years. And, I was in the back with all these beefy, men. And I have to say, some of the ones who are in the gym all the time, you try to hug them and it's like hugging a brick wall. It's not very nice, to be honest. But you hug the ones who have, brawn, but maybe a little cushion around the belly, like that.
There's got to be huggability.
Yeah, it feels like
it
feels like you're at home when you hug those dudes. So that's what I like. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing I was gonna say too is in practice, men who are really cut like that, I feel like you can't have fun with them because they're always in the gym. Or for me, food is a very big part of my love language, and it's no fun to be with a guy who can't eat because it doesn't fit within his macros or whatever. So
sure,
someone
that's
who's
fair.
Someone who's open to eat anything. Yeah.
Is
that's
there
the kind
a
of beef I
particular
like.
character that is pure Youngie beef?
Oh man, there's so many. A classic is Chris Redfield.
Oh, did you see him in the most recent one?
They made some improvements. They took some notes from the fans because he was not very good looking in 7. She was giving a little.
Are we talking about 8?
Yes, or Village? Is that
Village is 8? Yeah.
Yeah, I never noticed him before that point, but he appeared in the game, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, in
Hello,
7 he was
Chris.
given Midwest church dad with no lips. It wasn't great.
Are we talking about this in this big black coat?
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay.
It's a little better. It was an improvement. It's not bad.
Wait. Are we? I mean, just this giant I don't know. The haircut is really throwing me off.
Mm-hmm.
Can you post a picture
Yeah, you gotta
because
post it.
I
Yeah.
I had to make sure we're all talking about the right person.
This Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the haircut. I don't like the haircut.
I was expecting you to post a picture of Nemesis.
He
Just
kind of
for
looks
your
like
reaction.
Nemesis. He's just so big. I like the bod, but the hair. It's like they copy pasted a ugly man's head onto a
that's
giant
fair.
body.
Well,
Listen,
he's-
this is good military man hair.
Yeah,
he doesn't have time for
exactly.
his hair because he's busy being gruff and strong
Yeah.
and killing things.
Is his hair made of sweat? That's what it looks like to me. Well,
If it
okay.
helps you, my platonic ideal of Chris Redfield is actually him circa Resident Evil 5.
Okay, so you want that Chris with this bod?
Well, no, I'll take that Chris over any Chris.
Oh, so 5 is prime.
5 is
specimen?
prime. This one in 8 is still good because it's older Chris with the grizzled experience and he's more jaded and I don't know.
Kind of small here in 5.
Not his arms. At least not in the fan art that I've seen.
I'm posting this picture, but I don't know.
I mean, his arms are.
They're pretty beefy.
They're pretty beefy. Yeah.
Well, like
They
I
got
said,
some sinew.
we're operating on different standards here. Like I said,
Okay.
large or large with an O,
Yeah.
just
Mm.
impractically large.
Okay. So before we get to the real topic at hand, my beef, I tend to go for the stoic but kind trope.
Yes.
I like that.
It's a good one.
So fuck your endeavors. I'm sorry, take that shit out of here. Take that, throw in the trash. The Do is a very good example. Or trying to think of another one offhand. I don't know, just the gentle giant. That tends to be
Asuma Sensei from Naruto. He's like,
yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gave Raphael a B in your Fire Emblem video or rankings.
Wow.
Yeah, B's not bad. Raphael, I will say I don't go as much for like the dumb archetype. You know,
I see.
like that's not my thing. Like I understand people really love the himbo. I like the cultured giant. The dude is not dumb by any means. He's very well spoken and like intelligent. That's I want to be able to have like a good conversation after the fucking, right? Not just like, duh, I like food all the time. Like, I get it.
The dude would make you breakfast in bed, and it would be like really fancy, like
it'd be
brunch
delicious.
spread. Yeah.
And then you could talk to him about, like anything. Whereas Raphael's like, I like meat. It's like, okay, I get it.
Right.
And
Sure
I like meat too.
am
I like
hungry.
meat too. But
so you like Primbos.
Primbo, I love that.
is that a thing? Is that
We're
a
making
term?
it a thing.
I love that. Yeah, Primbos. Yeah,
The
absolutely.
Primbos and Grumbos and Himbos, I guess, are the spectrum.
Yeah.
I can get into Grumbos too, because Grumbos kind of like fall into like, they can be into like a tsundere sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right? And going to my favorite sort of lady is the tsundere, right? So that's a direct sort of 1-to-1, right? Like a Grumbo would be like kind of like a Bowser, right?
A man that you can break down. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where my tastes lie. But let's get to the real topic at hand. Beef. Actual beef. Souha.
It's hard to know exactly which, like, I like it rare-ish, but I feel like when you order at restaurants, they almost never do, like, it's always under or over.
Yeah.
So I feel like I want to say medium rare, because medium now has become a little bit dry for me. Like my tastes have slowly changed just from cooking at home and sort of accidentally making it rarer at first than I meant to, and then sort of just appreciating it more and more over time. But so I think medium rare, but it's I like it sort of reddy pink, not bloody, certainly not cold. But I hope that's
How about the fat on that beef?
I like lean meat. Unless it's like marbled, like fancy marbled, like Kobe, type beef. But the name of it, what's it called for real?
Like Wagyu?
Cool.
Wagyu, thank you. Yeah. It's not Kobe beef. It's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that.
So you like your beef like you like your beef, like the top of the cream of the crop, like the top percent. Like it's either gotta be Wagyu, you can pay for my house, or nothing.
Yes, I love filet mignon and Wagyu. So yes.
You love filet mignon.
Filet.
Listen. Okay, it's good. I eat other kinds.
Do you also like baby food because it's easy to eat?
Oh no.
No, I don't. But listen, sometimes a busy woman like me doesn't want to spend time wrestling with the fat, and you can just order a cut that is just ready for you, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I forgot that lazy bums like us with nothing just love to spend our time chewing on fat. Oh, I forgot.
Perhaps if you were a girl boss like me, you'd find yourself in, but it's just different. We're living in different worlds.
So again, too much flavor. Got it. I see. Too much. There's just too much flavor. Ooh, I said it. Oh, uh-oh. It's out there.
Canon.
So for those of you listening, if you're unaware, there's been a long running bit. It's not even really a bit because it's true. Of us teasing Souha for not appreciating flavor. Because it was like there was the fat on meat, which listen, fat is delicious and is where the flavor where a lot of the it's flavor. It's flavor. Fat is flavor. What was another thing?
It started from the goldfish.
That's right. You love goldfish crackers more than
I enjoy goldfish crackers more than Cheez-Its because not because of flavor, because look, you can eat more of them, if you want to, if you're worried about things like calories. If you're not, that's totally fine. But I happen to enjoy a goldfish from time to time, and somehow this became a thing about flavor. And frankly, I come from a culture of seasoning. So this is really just offensive.
Which is
not only
extra
to me,
surprising to me. Yeah.
my entire people, really. So, I think you should take this opportunity to apologize publicly.
Cheez-its or goldfish? I'm not going to do that. Cheez-its or goldfish, Youngie?
I mean both. We're Americans, so we can maximize.
No, pick one. Which one has more flavor then?
Well, it depends because both snacks have so much variety. Flavor blasted goldfish have a lot of flavor, but ultimately not as much as Cheez-Its, and so
Cheez-Its have flavor to their core.
Right.
They're baked. It's baked in.
Yes.
Sure, you can season cardboard as much as you want. But at the end of the day, what are you eating? You're eating cardboard, right? You're eating flavor blasted sour cream and onion cardboard, but it's still cardboard. Mm-hmm. So, there was that. I think it's just been, what was it? Was it sea urchin? Was that another one? There was something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but listen, I had sea urchin in Dayton, Ohio. So, you have to give me that one. I have committed to trying it again under Dave Scrotum Nose's tutelage, so... hopefully it'll be fine then.
I feel like I don't know if that'll change your mind. Like, for some people, they just really don't like it. Like, you're a sea urchin guy, right?
I do like it. But for some people, it's a texture issue, too.
It was the texture back then. Like, I don't feel like I even really got to try the flavor because I just vividly remember it disintegrated my mouth in this horrible way that I wasn't prepared for. And then after that, it was like, okay, well.
Disintegrated in your mouth? Did they give you like cotton candy?
It just fell apart in this really odd way. Like I don't know, man.
Interesting. And again, some people have very legitimate reasons for not liking texture, but for most people, whenever I hear a texture, I'm just like, oh boy, baby on board.
No, I don't actually love varied textures, so I don't think that it's I don't think I'm one of those people, but just that one in particular. And it could not have been the texture. That could just be what my brain focused on at the time. But, that's really what I remember. And it was probably, 10 years ago by now. I think it was...
How are you with, raw oysters?
I've never had one.
Oh.
It does make me a little nervous, I won't lie. But
I
would
don't know if you would like them, actually, if you don't like them.
Acquired taste.
They look a little slimy. But if it was, a nice... if somebody told me this is the best a raw oyster can be prepared, I would try it. It's just, if you try stuff like that and it's half-ass or shitty, it just ruins the whole... I hated shrimp most of my life until I had it cooked properly. And then and mind you, that was a long time ago now. I think it was high school. But after that, I could enjoy rubbery, shitty shrimp because I knew, it's not always supposed to be like this.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I agree. Having sea urchin in Ohio, I'm sure it's not the best. Even when I had the sea urchin out here, I was like, wow, no, there's a very distinct difference in quality. And something I read, actually, I think it was today or yesterday, I was reading a Serious Eats thing, and let me just double check who I want to attribute the quote correctly, but it was something along the lines of basically this chef, I think he was a ramen chef, he every year will go out of his way to try something that he knows he doesn't like and try to understand why people like it and try to understand the appreciation. Ivan Orkin. Every year he sets out to try one thing he really can't stand, and then tries and usually comes around to the appeal of it. For example, what's something that I didn't like at first? I mean, yeah, sea urchin. Even my first experience with sea urchin was not great. I was like, I don't think I need to try this again. But when I had it the second time, it was much better, and I was like, I get it. It's some things take a couple tries.
Yeah.
Or there'll be a thing where I at first think, oh, I don't like this, but then you get this almost weird sort of craving to try it again. I think raw oysters might have been that for me the first time. I liked it fine, but I wasn't hooked. But then the second time I was and I think again it might have had to do with better quality oysters. Now I'm like I'll always go for oysters. I fucking love oysters. That or Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box I hated the first time, and now on the opposite end of the spectrum, I will crave Jack in the Box, even though it's garbage. It's just part of, there's something about it. I would rather have something that stands out and is kind of gross but kind of enticing than just a completely forgettable, like, I don't even remember what that is sort of experience. But okay, so that's your beef. Youngie, your perfect beef.
My perfect beef. I am not picky, and my moods sometimes change with the season. But I like a few different types. I like tartare.
Okay.
I like something fresh and raw and flavorful.
Sure.
I love me some prime beef, like a type that you get at Costco. And I like that medium rare. It also maybe depends on the breed of cattle, too. Sometimes you might have a really nice piece of beef from a cow that's not indigenous to the States. And then I might want that black and blue, which is where you sear it really, really quick. It's like even more raw than rare. And that can be nice. But, I remember back in May, I got to try some of our friend Dave's steak. He made a steak rice bowl. And for that, he just used...
so good.
It's so good. And I thought he was going to go all out and use something a little more marbled. He just used USDA choice. That's a bit leaner. Yeah. And it was so flavorful and prepared in such a way that it really hit the spot. So I would say, ultimately, it doesn't really matter. It just has to be prepared with care and love. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks for your non-answer.
You're welcome.
My answer is going to be medium rare ribeye steak.
Ribeye.
That's like the ideal steak. If we're going outside of that, I just absolutely love oxtail. Have you ever had oxtail, Souha?
No, and I honestly don't know if I would like it because the descriptions I've read of it, so my fear is always, is it too fatty? I love lamb, and lamb is mega fatty. But if you sit there and separate it out, the meat is just perfect and beautiful because of all that fat. But people have talked about oxtail and described it as gelatinous sometimes. And so that makes me think is it just so sort of all through it that you can't kind of get the meat and leave the fat?
No,
I'd like to try it.
You can. So the nice thing about oxtail, like any cut of beef, is that you can prepare it to your likeness. So it can be gelatinous if you are, stewing it for a long time so that it's completely tender. But then sometimes people will cook it a little less. So it's really up to you.
Just imagine
sounds great.
Extremely tender. I mean, I love both. I love a gelatinous Korean, oxtail stew. I think it's one of my favorite foods of all time. But I also do love not that long ago I had an oxtail. Oh, what's the name of that pasta? I always mix up all the pastas. I don't know, some kind of tagliatelle ragu.
Yeah.
Tagliatelle ragu, mamma mia, pie,
Oh my gosh.
But it was delicious. It was just, some of the most tender, melt in your mouth sort of beef. So I would say, if you don't like fat, maybe don't go for the more gelatinous versions. But if you do like really tender meat, it is quite good. And,
Yeah.
how do you feel about? Have you ever had bone marrow?
Yes, but not fancy bone marrow. So I'd really like to try it. When I was a kid, my mom would pressure cook a whole chicken, and then sometimes she would break the bones open because they'd get really soft, and we'd suck the marrow out, and that was fine. But I feel oh man, these fancy you have the bone shaved in half or whatever, and it's roasted or whatever they do to it. I feel it must be really even nicer. So I'd love to try that.
I don't think you actually need the fanciness of it to enjoy it.
Yeah, oxtail is a pretty... What bone marrow or oxtail? I was going to say both can be pretty humble cuts.
Yeah. In fact, I think a lot of restaurants fuck it up,
Right.
in that they overdo it and like try to add too much shit, and it's like, dude, I just want the fucking marrow. Like, give me the marrow, maybe some nice bread or something, and that's it. Like, don't overdo it. But what were you gonna say, Youngie?
I was gonna say oxtail. It's really up to how you prepare it because it is a rich cut of meat, but you can trim off most of the fat, and also since you're usually stewing it, it's in like a sort of like water application. A lot of the fat renders off, so I would say it's really only a concern for people who don't like meat on the bone or who don't like cartilage or like any gristle, because that's the allure of it. Oh,
Again, flavor.
I mean, it's not fucking flavor. I mean, like,
yes, it is.
No. Look, okay, I don't have a problem with it being, nearby, but I don't want to eat it. I don't want my teeth fucking bouncing off of, cartilage and
you don't have
and
to
shit.
eat the ends then, because it's more like, I don't know, if you think of like a barbell, like imagine a barbell, but like around the handle is like a bunch of meat. You can sort of eat that, and then like the ends where the weights are, that's where there's like joints and stuff, and you could just ignore that. But I don't know. I feel like the fun of oxtail is you can like slurp the soup out of the bones and get all the flavor. So
yeah, some of us love food.
I do love food, okay? You and this false agenda of yours, like,
Yeah.
you're misleading these poor listeners.
I would
do
love you to
flavor.
prove me wrong.
This is just categorically untrue. I love flavor. I just love some different flavors and textures than Sungwon and Youngie, and that's fine. I'm
But I love all textures and all flavors.
I mean, I will say I do wish I was more like you guys. Like, I'll watch food shows where people are like eating crazy shit, and I'm like, man, like I do wish I was that adventurous, and I try to be more open-minded, but there's just some things that I'll have to work up to.
I think you'd like it. If you like lamb, I don't think oxtail is a hard sell for you at all.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty easy. Yeah.
I do want to try.
Yeah.
I guess what are some foods for you that are like, you're like, ooh, I'm a little, I don't know about that.
I think stuff with like organ meat, offal, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And I've had some, like, I mean, I don't suppose you'd really consider beef tongue that, but like,
No.
like I've had sometimes stuff stuffed in intestines, but that's like sausage. I mean, so it's not.
I love beef tongue though. Oh, it's so good.
I've enjoyed it, but I feel like if I think too hard about what it is, I start to get a little bit like, oh, I don't know. But it's usually things like that. But I've definitely had it a couple of different times. Arabs eat some of that stuff as well, but it's usually things like that. I think like chicken feet, things that might have, like, I feel like if it was completely rendered and processed, I would care a lot less. But stuff that's either in its form as it would have been when it died, or if the texture is sort of cartilagey, like I think I've had soft shell crab one time in a sushi roll and it was good, but I asked Dave about it once because I was like, wait, it's a whole crab, like with all the guts and stuff inside? And he was like, yeah, that's the best part. And I was like, oh, so that completely, like, that kind of made me a little bit nervous.
No.
I see.
Look, I'm not a food baby, okay? I want to be clear. I like a lot of things.
Good for you. Oh, hooray! Like, congratulations. You like, cheese or whatever. Great, wonderful.
I like how you said that this podcast was going to be about me answering for my crime, Souha, and oh, how the tables have turned.
Oh, how the
we're gonna
turntables.
get to you, okay? We're gonna get to you. Although I will say I was not prepared for this ambush.
You brought on two of the foodiest people, and you thought that there's no way you were gonna get ambushed.
The foodiest and the ones leading the charge on this flavor hating lie.
If Dave was here, it'd be triple threat.
Right.
It'd be triple the power. But
you guys would be like the food appellate court at that point. Like,
100%.
there's just three of you.
Yeah. That we should become that. That should be us. Yeah.
Yeah, let's pitch it.
And like we put our friends on tribunal, like on for food crimes. Like, oh, you like goldfish, huh? Okay.
I would listen to that podcast. If you'd have me as your Phoenix Wright. I have perfected, because I am a real lawyer, I have perfected sweating in front of a panel of judges before. So it's a role I'm ready to play.
Youngie, is there any food that you're squeamish about?
I wouldn't. Not in particular. Oh no. Well, I was gonna say durian, but I don't think I've really ever had it properly. I've only ever had it like, defrosted from the Asian supermarket where it's probably been sitting in the deep freeze for a long time.
Ooh.
But I'm very
What did
open
it, what
to
did it
trying
taste
things.
like to you?
I mean, what's the descriptor? It's kind of like puddingy, like onion. I mean, that is part of it. Some people say it kind of smells like garbage. Um, I didn't love it, but again, I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
it fresh, and I know there's lots of varieties, and I've seen videos on YouTube of people eating the really, really good stuff in Southeast Asia. So
But isn't there also like correct me if I'm wrong? I thought there was like a thing where for some people it just tastes a certain way no matter what, right? Like isn't it like a cilantro thing, or am I
I think
mistaken?
I
it-
on
hadn't
this?
heard that with durian.
I hadn't heard that with durian, but it wouldn't surprise me just because some people may not be able to, and I don't think all varieties of durian taste this way, but some people may not be able to reconcile the sweetness with the sort of allium quality that it has, the sort of oniony garlicness.
Yeah.
But I would say no, I'm willing to try anything once. I think when I was a kid, I really didn't like Goya or like bitter melon, just because it was too bitter for me. But as I've gotten older, I can fuck with it. Like it's good. Yeah. No, I'm not a picky eater by any means. I like everything.
Yeah, I also I've talked about it on the podcast I think, but I used to be as a kid like the pickiest kid imaginable, but now I'm the complete opposite. And durian is what I want to try. I've never had it. I've had like durian flavored things, but that doesn't count. I want to try the real,
Right.
the real deal, and see. And I will say one that I'm like very interested in trying, but I'll admit I'm a little like ooh is balut. Right? Have you had it?
Oh, boy.
Oh, no, I do want to try it. I feel like it would be very good, actually.
Yeah, but but for you, Youngie, do you have any reservations, or you're like, I don't care?
I don't think the only reservation that I would have is the idea of like, tasting the bone or whatever. But I think once I tried it, I wouldn't have too much trouble. Because there's also with balut, there's different types you can get. Some that are more where the embryo. This is sort of weird to describe, but you can get ones where the embryo is more developed, and then ones where it's
Right.
not as. And then I heard some people, they don't necessarily like the meat inside, but they like the broth around the egg when you crack it open.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've heard it's delicious, but
I hear it
I
tastes
would try
quite
it.
good.
Yeah.
Like Dave, says it's great. Like I kind of want to do, and this won't be out for a while, so maybe I've done it by now. I don't know, but like I want to do maybe like a video where I try durian, and maybe a video where I try balut. Just ones where I different.
Oh,
sort of
I'd
foods.
love to see that.
Oh, I want and like maybe like have Dave like be my guide, right?
Yeah.
Let's go get some balut, right? Not approach it as like a
No.
disgusting. No, more like a hey, I've always wanted to try it. Show me where to get the good balut, and let's try it.
Yeah.
I think that could be fun. Like it's like okay, there's another one I can think of where I'm like, oof, I don't know, and it doesn't even look that good to me. It's the maggot cheese.
Oh, no, I wouldn't
cheese?
eat
Kasu Marzu, right?
Yeah, I'm like,
Uh-oh.
No.
that's tough. That's real tough.
Are they alive?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you're supposed to eat the maggots or just eat around them, though.
That doesn't make it much better for me.
I also feel like that's something, I don't know if people still really eat that stuff. I feel like that's an antiquated delicacy that just exists for the sake of it, but
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I hear like, oh, balut and durian is delicious. Does anyone really go like, oh, dude, the maggot cheese? You gotta have it.
What's that fermented shark called?
this like stingray or the shark.
No, it's shark. I think it's like
No, I know what you're
Oh,
talking
isn't
about. Yeah,
it's not
hakarl.
What's it called?
Hakarl.
Alright.
It's like cured shark.
Oh,
Tastes like
yeah.
ammonia.
There's a Korean dish that's similar, right? That's like stingray, like fermented skate.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know it offhand.
I need to ask my parents what the
Oh,
Arab dishes of these are.
Oh, hongohe. Let's see. Made from skate. Yeah, I guess they both have a very. I've never had this, but they have a very ammonia-like odor.
Flavor. Yeah.
I mean, I try it. I will try. Well, maybe not maggot cheese. Oh god. Well, apparently even the maggot cheese is like. I think the last I and let me just. I don't want to be wrong on this, but was it like illegal or something? Oh yeah, because of European Union food hygiene health regulations, the cheese has been outlawed.
Right.
Oh.
So it's like you can
Okay.
only get it on the black market, and at that point, I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to eat this that bad. It doesn't sound that good.
No.
And it's like illegal. No thanks. You know, I think I'm good
Yeah.
on that front. But
That's definitely something I would want, like, very regulated as far as like the hygiene and whatever of producing it. So
yeah, instead of just like, hey, want some maggot cheese from my pocket? Like, I'm good, and I think I'll pass on that. This one went really food centric, which I don't mind.
I love
Yeah,
it.
very,
We can keep going on the food.
very controversial. I feel like a lot of people are going to get mad in the comments about food shaming and stuff.
Well, we haven't
don't
been through
care.
that, have we?
I think
Well,
we'll
we
be
shamed
fine.
you.
What are we-
I hope they'll get mad about you
Oh.
shaming me, as they should, because I have never done anything wrong in my life. But, you know.
I see. Now we can go back to food, but is there, for either of you, a topic or question you want to bring up?
Yeah.
What's
so
up?
I was listening to Youngi's podcast with Sapphire. I forget what the number was. I feel like it's somewhere in the 20s. But
Okay.
But yeah, so I would like Youngie to answer for his harsh and cruel disrespect of Mufasa's death
Oh, I knew it was going to be that.
in that episode. Yeah, you knew because you knew you were
Can you
wrong.
remind me on what the crime was here?
Youngie laughed, and I believe he said, why did he fall like that? And also that Scar put his claws in his hand, and it was a... Well, this is... I don't think calling it a drag queen move is shitty, but you were cackling and giggling, and, you know... I have cried every single time, except for maybe, I think, once or twice in my life that I remember at that death. And
Yeah.
it is a 90s kid... Only 90s kids will remember this, you know... institution. And for you, I just need you to right now acknowledge how wrong and disrespectful you were. That's what I
Well,
would like.
okay, first of all, I'm surprised that for a lawyer, you seem to have gotten the facts wrong. I wasn't the one who questioned why he fell like that. That was Sapphire, not me.
How do you even remember that? First of
Objection!
Listen, I told you I'm Phoenix, right? Okay, this is
You
is
just
the
took some
portion where I start
damage on
sweating.
your Ace Attorney bar.
You were present for it. You facilitated it. And because Sapphire is not here, you have to answer in her
That's
place.
true. I mean, the most of everything else was true, though. I thought it was a very, like, drag queen-esque moment where it's like Scar, like, sinks his nails in and then makes the other guy, like, howl.
You can't tell me that, like, 6-year-old Youngie thought that, okay? That is adult Youngie.
I don't know. 6-year-old Youngie didn't have much respect for father or, like, authority figures, so maybe that's where it comes from as well. So...
Okay, let me ask you this. 6-year-old Youngie, what was a scene that, like, really got you crying?
I don't know. It wasn't scenes. The first thing that comes to mind is I remember being 5 or 6 years old and like being like, there's a melody that is in my dreams, literally, that makes me feel this pang of sadness that I can't quite explain. And then I got older and realized it was the Perfect Strangers opening theme song.
What is the Perfect Strangers
no.
opening theme?
It's the part of the chorus where it goes, standing tall on the wings of our dreams, or something like that. But
I'm gonna look this
you'll
up.
have to look it up.
Okay.
Wow, I feel old. But it was that, and then other than that, like, it was real life stuff. I think I feel like you mentioned this the other day, Sung One, where like someone mentioned it, where I used to think about the realization of, oh, like one day my grandma's gonna die. And,
Oh yeah.
and then that would drive me to tears, and I'd be like, "You're going to die," and they're like, "Well, not yet."
Not yet.
But that sort of thing. Fiction. Oh no, I can tell you my first battle with emotions in media. I should not have been watching this when I was a kid, but it was watching, we had the VHS for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which Bob Hoskins, like prime beef. Oh my God.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the shoe?
No, we're talking about the very end where all the cartoons come out and like start singing and everything becomes color. And I was like, Mom, how do I get there? And she was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm just like, can we open the TV so I can go to there? She's like, you can't. And that broke me. So yeah.
Baby Youngie. That's so cute.
So Mufasa
Holy
dying was like,
shit.
whatever, it's all fake.
Whatever.
Wow.
He's just a drawing. I know the reality. You can't trick me, animation. That's so sad. Just because they're like, never give up hope. And Youngie's like, oh, I want to go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Is that why you became an actor? You just knew, like, someday I will get in there.
I'll become part of the lie.
That and probably just not getting enough attention as a kid. So.
Okay. Now, Souha, are there any others for you? For me, Littlefoot's mom dying in Land for a Time. That's a big one for me.
It's more like, what did I not cry at? Like, and I've only gotten worse as I've gotten older. Like, I think the first big one I remember is The Lion King. But like, I'll tell you the dumbest thing that comes to mind when I think of how easily I cry, which is in Spider-Man 1, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. There's a part where Spider-Man is like being lured into a trap by the Green Goblin, I think, and the building's on fire, and this lady's like, my baby, rescue my baby. And like, she's like crying, and it makes me cry every time because like people crying makes me cry also, like in real life and on TV. But like also recently I watched 101 Dalmatians with my nephews, and like, since I had a kid, I used to cry when kids are in danger or crying anyway, but like, since I had a kid, it's gotten so much worse. And the puppies are like basically human children complaining about how tired and hungry and cold they are. And I'm going to cry just thinking about it. My sister and I were just sitting there like, oh, the puppies, they're so hungry.
I can identify with that. There's an awful game. Oh, this is spicy. Well, we're going there. There's an awful game called Detroit Become Human.
Oh, God.
Which I guess I'll never work with that developer. Who cares? But there's one part. There are wonderful parts, and the performances are very good, I will say. But there's one part where you play like this female android, and you are in an abusive household where if you don't rescue the daughter, and like the father's chasing after you, if you don't rescue the daughter, you're all gonna get killed. I remember being so anxious, and like when I finally got the daughter out of there, I just sobbed because it was so real to like, I mean, if we're going there, I grew up in an abusive household, which is probably why I had no respect for father figures, but like that was so real, and it was just the idea of a younger person going through like something that I had gone through was just too much.
Sure. So
I definitely get that, being protective of children. Adults, not so much, whatever.
And also, again, like Mufasa, fuck him. Again, he's a cartoon, so fuck him.
Yeah.
I have found that over time, I definitely cry way more easily over media, like substantially way more, like easily. And I think part of it is just like I don't give a shit anymore, right? I think there was definitely like a part of me as a youth, like, don't cry, you baby. Like, it's just a movie, right? Now it's like I don't care. I'm fucking. I'm a married man. I don't. What do I have to prove anymore? But then, and this is gonna sound so fucking hoity-toity, but like, I think as I've gotten more entrenched in voice acting, like I find myself like. Even if it's something a little hokey, right? But if an actor or a character is really feeling like an emotion, like I get into it. Yeah. Like I really empathize, and it's like stuff where like, maybe like 10 years ago I'd be like, really, you're crying at or not crying, but even like tearing up, right? Yeah. But even then you're like, really, you're tearing up at this, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm in it. Like I do feel and then like even as like simple as stuff like So we've been doing. Oh god, well this won't be out for a while, but we have done Danganronpa playthroughs, right, where we do all the dialogue out loud, right? And there are parts in the game where, like, you know, I get emotional, like, doing the dialogue, because it's like a really, like, emotional scene. And, you know, what I'm doing at the time is just, you know, just dicking around with Jay, just, you know, like, you know, just doing it. It's supposed to be just kind of like silly, but, you know, we take the serious parts very seriously and do them, like, you know, and yeah, I just get really, really into it. And
I love that.
And I think that also, you know, obviously when I'm doing the actual job, I do that, but it has sort of, I guess, expanded outward of that's maybe not changed, but slightly, like, influenced even how I even experience other media. Is like I'm just more, I think, more empathetic, more into it. Like, whereas before I might have been more detached, like, it's just a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a good movie and it's a good performance. I'm not like, but I'm not actually like, but now I'm like, no, his kid really is gonna get taken away from him. Like, I feel it.
Right,
But,
because when you've been
yeah.
on the other side of the mic or camera, you know it takes a lot to deliver
Yeah.
that authentically. I'm playing through Eye of the Somnium Files, and fucking, like, Karina Betker kills it as this 12-year-old character who's gone through this horrific trauma. And there are moments where their performance, it just lands in such a realistic way that you've never heard before, but at the same time is so authentic, and I have a lot of respect for that. So
Nice.
because, you know, when the mic is rolling and you're tired or whatever, you're like, oh man, like, how do I get it out of me, right?
Sure. Youngie, did you have any topic or question you wanted to bring up? What?
Now that I've answered for my crimes, there was, but I have.
Is there another crime? Is there a Souha crime to also for her to answer
No,
for?
I feel like
having
Souha has
no taste in
answered for plenty of crimes.
Gotcha.
There was one that was in the thing. Cheese, I guess we sort of talked about. Someone wanted to know, like, what the best type of cheese for us was. But
Oh, okay.
yeah. Not mac and
I have an
cheese.
answer. Favorite cheese of all time is, it's simple, but just classic Parmigiano Reggiano, right? For me, just I don't need anything else with it. Just grate it off, not even grate, but just cut some pieces off. I love the, you know, the crystals in the cheese, the texture, the flavor, you know. So it's just one of my deepest joys is just getting like a nice, like, you know, cut of Parmigiano Reggiano, just chopping off some pieces, just going to town. Yeah, that's my favorite cheese. I love all sorts of cheeses. Like, just recently had some very good, you know, blue cheese. I love, you know, you gotta get your triple cream bries are great. You know, all kinds of cheese, I deeply enjoy. But Parmigiano Reggiano is the king for me. How about you guys?
I was gonna say the real stuff can get very expensive, but it's always worth it. If anyone who's listening sees one in their, like, local fancy cheese shop or at Costco, and they're like, do I want to pay this much? Yes, do it. It's worth it. I would
Especially
say
if you grew up like me, eating it, like, you know, the fucking Kraft
the
green can.
I have respect for
Like,
that stuff too, though.
You know, it's like, yeah, I respect it like I respect Doritos or something, right? And that's not a joke. Like, I love Doritos and fucking chips and stuff.
No,
but
I
it's
totally
not,
understand.
but very different ends, right?
Yeah.
Like,
No, I love a shelf-stabilized cheese. So I have 3 answers. One is I love a bougie triple cream brie on crackers or baguette, toasted baguette. Oh, the best. Add a little, like, honey, maybe some, like, thyme if you want to be super fancy. I love that. I also love, for making mac and cheese, I always have to have a bit of smoked Gouda, because some people think it's a little overpowering, but I think it hits the right note that makes your mac and cheese a little different than anyone else's. And then the last one, along the lines of that green craft stuff, I really love Velveeta.
Oh,
for
that's a
making
bold
for
addition.
making queso. And people always sort of like, turn their noses up at it, but it's great for queso. It really is good for adding a bit of it to
Hmm.
pasta like mac and cheese, because that's what's going to give you that sort of creamy texture to your sauce.
Hmm.
Nothing but respect for it. And if Patti
Oh,
LaBelle puts it in
respect.
her mac and cheese, then like it's good enough for
Oh
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, yeah.
This is
Don't knock
great.
Velveeta or processed cheese or singles. Like they have their place in the kitchen
Yes.
for sure. How about you, Suha?
I've been hearing a lot of Velveeta slander recently because I think there was some Twitter post about this is what Americans think cheese is or something like that. And so people
Mm-hmm.
were like, man, Velveeta sucks. And it's like, well, I don't want to eat it by the block, but it's certainly got uses. And
yeah.
it has that kind of childhood green can feel to me. So I still appreciate it. So I'm glad to hear
Mm-hmm.
the Velveeta respect. But I also have a couple different, like if you told me choose one cheese to eat, like generally or right now, a really, really super sharp cheddar with like crystals in it, white or
Mm-hmm.
not. But usually I think I tend to go for the white ones, but I love that little crunch and the, intense flavor.
Wow,
Wow.
good for you.
Listen. But I love soft cheeses. Like I love I don't know if Havarti counts as a soft cheese, but
Yeah,
I
it
love
does.
Havarti. But
Yeah.
I love goat cheeses. Like there's a goat cheese with honey that I like to buy from one of our markets here. I like truffle
Mm.
cheese also, like black or white truffle sort of
Mhm.
in it. I love so many cheeses, but I feel like the thing that I always come back to when I just want to eat cheese by itself or with crackers or bread is like a really good sharp cheddar.
Mm. It's a solid choice. I love a good charcuterie with just all sorts of cheese, man. It's my shit. Now, we were before the cheese talk. We were kind of going a little inside the actor's studio. I don't know if we want to go back to that because, we have a voiceover director here and we have two voice actors. It's like, and I will say, one of the only people I actually enjoy talking about the craft with is Youngie. Like,
Thank you.
I think it's like you and like Lucian like are the two that I'll actually talk about the craft with and not just like what are you in? What are you in? Like I never
Right.
I never want like indulge in that. Like I find that so like
People walking around with their dicks in their hands, being like, "Ooh,
yeah,
who's
like
this
ooh,
bicker?"
it's like so yeah, but actually talking about the craft is interesting to me. So I mean, I don't know,
I love
Suha,
it.
if
I
you,
mean, I'm
yeah,
always
Suha, if you had any like question for us or Youngie or
yeah.
either of you, yeah.
And I guess so. I had a few about Youngie because, and he knows I always love hearing about his jobs, like all the things that he's doing because I don't really have any sort of window into that stuff. But since you're here as well, one of the questions I had was like, sort of, what's your ideal project or what kind of show appeals to you writing wise, and then what makes your job easier or harder when we're talking about like anime scripts. So I feel like for you, Sungwon, maybe more generally talking about acting, like what kinds of things immediately draws you to a character or a script. Because I was watching this clip of Sandra Oh talking that Youngie had sent, and it was like she was saying, you read the script and it's like, oh, I understand what you're going for. That's
Yes.
me. I can give it to you. Like, I'd love to know what
Mm,
both of you have kind of that kind of criteria.
okay. Uh, Youngie, you want to go first?
Sure. I would say in terms of writing, my ideal projects have been ones that, well, first of all, that the translation is very good and it's clearly written by someone who cares and is giving you enough. Because sometimes they'll give you like a 3-word translation and you have to fill like 30 seconds worth of empty lip flaps, or it'll be the opposite. They'll give you like a huge paragraph and you maybe have 2 lip flaps and you're just like, come on, man. But
Mm,
ultimately, my favorite projects writing wise are ones where there's director adapter feedback, which is very rare because the process
Mm,
doesn't allow for it. But I think of Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which Sungwon was in and was very good, and I
mm-hmm.
adapted some scripts for the second season where we went off of the source material, like the original 80s OVAs. We looked at the original novels that was based off of. We changed things. Or I think of projects like Hensky. Everyone took turns making jokes, and in a way, it was like the closest to a proper comedy writing room that I've ever been in this context. So things where everyone is like doing their part to make it good and to make it funny,
Mm.
where people recognize the importance of a script. In terms of acting stuff, I would say dream projects are where, especially for someone like me who has hangups about voice print and stuff, ones where you can kind of get in the pocket of the character so you can like stretch your legs and do lots of stuff. But then the cherry on top of that is if there's some sort of representational element that is authentic that I can breathe life into, whether that be like, you know, diaspora stories as like an Asian American kid, or like some sort of queer element where I can like, stuff that hasn't been seen before. So yeah, anything that has like layers and nuance and is written well, uh, you know, like you were bringing up with that Sandro example, like anything that you look at on the page and you're like, yes, I understand this. I wanna get in the booth and do this now.
Mm. I think for me, so the question is, what sort of characters or projects do I like get most excited about? Is that what you're saying? Kind of like
I
that
think
sort of.
do you have criteria in your mind that when you're reading a part or whatever that you're like, oh my God, this has to be me, or do you even approach it this way?
Mm, um, I would say that there are definitely parts that I've done where I was like very confident sending in the audition. Yeah, I know I can do this and I can do it extremely well. And those are ones that I get excited about because it's like, I don't know, I think some of the best parts of, let's say, acting is when you can feel that you and the director are on exactly the same page, right? Like you both know, yes, this is exactly what we need to be doing with this character. Like in a and actually a couple of recent, but there's one specific session I'm thinking about pretty recently. I can't say what it is, but like
Hashtag voice acting.
haha. It was for a game, and the character has very like extensive dialogue, like a lot of it, like just like pretty much talking the entire time throughout the entire scene, like like I would say like pages and pages, but instead of doing it the way like how it's usually done, where it's like, yeah, you just kind of like break it down into chunks. The director was like, no, we're gonna do it kind of like more how it's done in prelay, where it's like we're gonna just do the scene. We'll go through the scene and then once all the way through, and then if we need tweaks. But like I would go through, because this was a character where I was like, I know exactly how this character ticks. I know exactly how this character needs to sound. So I would do like, a whole, very extensive scene, and then she'd be like, no, that was pretty much, that was that was it, right? And that feels very, it feels very, it's like, yeah, okay, we're on the same wavelength. Like we're, and I'm not trying to like toot my own horn here. I'm really genuinely being like, no, like it was so satisfying to be like, yeah, we are on 100% the same wavelength of where this should be, and it's just working. That's when because also that's when I can kind of like really get into it more. Instead of it being broken up, and if I'm like, no, I can just. I've said this before, I think to Young In also on the podcast, but my when I'm happiest in the booth or when I'm most enjoying myself is when I'm like losing myself in it, right? Of just like, really the immersion factor is, excuse me, that's what I enjoy and, look for the most, and not having to worry like, oh, is this exactly right? Like just going by instinct and letting that take you. So yeah, so I would say, to answer your question, like on that, so what lets me get to that place is like strong, like the writing has to be very strong, and not just strong in like terms of quality, but like in terms of voice. Like I can see even from like 5 lines of the character in the sides, I'm like, okay, I already know what this character's personality is like. I can already hear it in my mind of how I think it should sound. And I know, and if I'm lucky, I know I can do this. And I think I have the instinct for this. Like a very vivid sort of voice to the character is what really draws me into certain roles. Because some people, I guess some people focus more on like, oh, but I want more lines, right?
Yeah.
I want more, and I'm like, I don't necessarily care about that. What I care about was this an interesting experience? Like, I think I've maybe said this before on the podcast, but like if I had the choice between like a really juicy, amazing side character and the main character who is like, maybe 10 times the lines, but to be frankly honest, is just kind of not that interesting. I don't want the main character. I want that side character. That to me is infinitely more fun and more interesting. I don't care about how long my sessions are. And that doesn't, a lot of people book main characters, and that's great. And that's going to get you, a lot of attention, but that's never been what it's been about for me. It's always been about what the experience itself is like. And I have found that 99% of the time there's always something valuable taken away from everything that I've done in the booth, regardless of how big or small the role is. But
I love to hear that, honestly, as like a smaller creator, especially because like our sessions tend to be shorter, either for budget or just because the game might be smaller, but B, like whenever people talk about like I think Youngie has said this before, I think you've said it to me even the last time we were on the podcast, but like you always want to be a project that people sort of enjoy or are happy about taking part in. And so like for me, like hearing that like sincerity or just sort of the character being interesting, like those are really great things to hear, that like actors enjoy that, because I cannot offer you AAA prestige not yet anyway, but sincerity and caring and sort of allowing the actor to get in there and like kind of offer things that come to them or pieces of them is certainly something that we do. And I usually when we've been casting so far, I feel like most of the actors, either this is a role that they sort of understand, or like the jobs that I've been doing recently, and even we talked about this, I know, last time, but like I had been afraid, like, oh my God, do the actors get in there and like I'm not giving them a ton of direction because they're kind of nailing it. Like we just released with Lunaris the When the Night Comes revamp, and so you have like Gideon Emery and Jonah Scott, and honestly everybody who worked with us really just knew what they needed to do and did it, and it was great. But like I was sitting there like, oh my God, are they going to be like, man, what kind of amateur hour shit is this? Like, you don't have any notes for me? You don't want to be like, no man, dig deeper, go back to your childhood, like I want to make you cry. So for me, hearing you be like, no, if I'm on the same page as you and we're both like, oh, that take was so good, yeah, do another one, oh, that was great, like then that's a good session. I know everybody is different. Some people maybe really do want like the prestige or the really meaty lines versus like the the side characters, but that's all like gold for me. Like I love to hear that.
Yeah, because ultimately, I don't mind if a director doesn't have much to say to me, as long as I know that they're paying attention and they care about this as much as I do. Because I've had situations where I do know what I'm doing, or the project is really interesting and big, but if I feel as an actor, if I feel for a second that you're not paying attention as a director, then that's when I start to get concerned. So, but no, you don't have to compensate for that by like talking too much every time the beeps go off.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's great if you just let me do my thing.
Yeah, I might have said this before too, but I think a sign for me of a inexperienced one, or let's say difficult, is over directing. Over directing can be, I'm like, sometimes it becomes contradictory directing of like, oh, you don't know what you want, right? Like you are just. Sometimes I feel like it's just. Some people just feel like they need to justify their job, so they'll just be like, oh, especially if like another client is on the line or whatever who's like listening in. Maybe I get that impression sometimes. That, or they just really are like inexperienced and just don't know what they want, and they just can't convey it like clearly enough. Like, yeah, acting is always this very interesting balancing act of like you step in with a director, and if it's someone you never worked with before, it's like, okay, how does this director tick? Like, what is this going to be like? Is this going to be tough? Is this going to be, like, how clear are they? How confident are they? Because I'd say almost like most directors I work with exude a level of confidence where I feel comfortable. I'm like, yeah, we're good. Like we both know what we need. And then every now and then you either get people who are a little green, where you're like, oh, you need to direct some people more, because this is not, frankly speaking, this is not how you should be directing. Like, some people also are just maybe are like they don't know how to say directions constructively. I don't know if you've run into this, Youngie, or they like
like they're rude.
Yeah, sometimes they can be rude.
It can be rudeness, or it can be
and
like,
not intentionally,
right? Or it can be misleading, because I know from firsthand experience, a lot of directing is about making sure your actor is comfortable. So, yeah, you have to know what you want, and you have to know how to communicate it.
But yeah, I mean, overall though, I think Youngie and I can both agree it's just well written, interesting characters. Hell yeah, that's the shit right there. And like you said, like if you can put sort of part of yourself into it as well, that's always the best. If you can feel like, yeah, you really did put there is a good honest chunk of Youngie in that character, at the end of the day. But yeah. Well, we think we're about reaching the end of this one. Again, thank you, both of you, for hopping on board again. Apologies, Souha, for crucifying you for your food tastes. But
actually, there is one thing I'd like to talk to you about before we go.
Yes, what is it? Yeah.
I'd like to exert some public pressure on you to do right by my Pokemon Rocket Grunt Souha. I've been getting reports that you you're not portraying me as accurately as you could be, by which I mean, you're casting me as attacking people and then sort of lying to them about it, when what I have understood is that I have been attacked first. I think that you should allow Rocket Grunt Souha to achieve her full potential, which is like, she moves up in the organization. Maybe she dates and marries Giovanni. They're very rich and happy together.
Wow,
they raise
there's
a team
the rich
Pokemon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So to give a little backstory on this, I run a Pokemon RP with a couple friends, and Souha here I put into the game as a Rocket Grunt NPC, who I based her personality off the real Souha, who. In our trivia games we used to hold, Souha and Steve had a very Steve, who has been on the podcast before, Steve Yurko, had a very intense rivalry, in that Souha, I don't know if she realizes it or not, would attack other players first, and then other players would then retaliate, and she'd go, "Why are you attacking me? What? I didn't do anything." And the thing is, you believe it. That's the thing, is you actually you're somehow gaslighting both of yourselves somehow. It's incredible. It's like a self-gaslighting and gaslighting them of like, yeah, meanwhile everyone else is like, no, you definitely attacked first, Souha.
Listen, there was one time, and only one time that I can think of, that I did choose to attack Steve first, but it's because I knew that he was going to attack me because of this perceived, vendetta, which I did not have. So
and thus adding fuel to the flames. Got it. So the Souha in my Pokemon RP started as Rocket Grunt Souha. Then I turned her into, or I think it was like Super Grunt. And then I made the joke that Souha was like, "No, I'm not a grunt. I'm a superb runt fan." And I had you be a fan of the runt candy, the fruit-shaped candies.
Oh, delicious.
Yeah, and now it's like sort of a recurring gag where anytime they encounter Team Rocket, you are always there and always claim, I'm not part of team. What are you talking about? And then you attack them first. And then I think the last time you appeared, I think one of them actually managed to tie you to a chair, and then you still used a smoke bomb and escaped. Still claiming you were innocent, though.
I mean, to me, what I hear is those are the actions of an innocent person. So I'm not seeing the
I feel like
disconnect there.
innocent person doesn't carry on smoke bombs, and also doesn't assault people first. But I don't know. There's
When you're
differences, I
constantly
suppose.
being attacked by Pokeball carrying maniacs, one must prepare. So a lady always goes out with a few smoke bombs in her purse. That's just common sense.
I see. Meanwhile, Youngie, if I were to put you into the Pokemon RP, what would be your ideal role?
It doesn't matter as
Like-
long as I'm not using bland Pokemon and I'm only using flavorful ones.
Got it.
So-
Yeah,
Oh
that
my
makes sense. Oh, well, on that note, go ahead and let's replug real quick. Youngie, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CHANG. I'm also on Instagram under there, but I'm never there. So Twitter, come at me.
All right, and Souha.
Okay, please bear with me. So my personal is at Susurocket, SOUSOUROCKET. I have a vampire visual novel I'm working on with First Bite Games, which is another studio that I have founded with some friends. So it's at First Bite Games. And then at Truant Pixel is my sort of main studio that I do everything with, at TRUANTPIXEL. And then I'm also doing voiceover direction for Lunaris Games. It's LUNARISGAMES_. And then also, this is maybe by the time this comes out, it might be out, but I've been contributing a chapter to a book about sex in games that's supposed to come out in 2022 because I'm a big romance gal. So, and I do talk about actually voice acting / directing through those scenes as well. So hopefully at some point I'll be able to talk about it in more detail, but I have been #blessed this year.
Come through.
Very cool. And check out Akash Path of the Five, right?
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Akash Path of the Five, my visual novel that is like the reason that I met Sungwon. So maybe hopefully by the time this podcast episode comes out, I'll get to direct both of you in something.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
Well,
#voice acting.
#voice acting. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
Thank you.